Lewis Freedman lives in Madison, where he co-runs the Shaped Reading series with Andy, last name I can't pronounce, with whom he also publishes chapbooks for Cannot Exist. Also, he publishes chapbooks with the multi-locatable Agnes Press. He is the author of The Third World, Catfish?
Po' Boy. Catfish, Po' Boy!
Oh, Catfish, Po' Boy, and Suffering Exchange. Is that all one? Walks with Anne. Lewis Freedman.
Sweet love!
Yeah, I couldn't read mine.
That was not paying attention.
Sweet love!
Sometimes there were parentheses and sometimes there weren't, and I didn't know.
Lots of people may have written.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me here at this Blue Gun and Oh No. I'm going to read from a manuscript I've made called Residual Synonyms for the Name of God. It's a catalog of 91 names of God that still have residue in our culture. And it has a lot of introductions, but I'll just read one of them. While the freedom of explanation has often been investigated as agent, it is hidden, immersed in its own daylight. When we speak, we travel the registry by night. Though there is an intra-enumeration like a bought election, the alphabet, expected prior, seems to come later. Standing blind and feeling moss. Where's the baby? So the later collected hinders even the artifice it owes to origin. The quiet but totalizing popularity of any single digit number. But the number 91, as a mystical speculation, would dupe us in surprise. It's all welded with an ancient partiality whose predilections are unknown. Any attempt to form doubly as a mysticism left a sense that we didn't know we were being looked for. So we compromised. No more sources is already where it was needless to look behind. Many strenuous mental struggles, often lasting centuries, politicize the first layer like phases of ignorance. Phases of ignorance that keep on getting you fired, granting refuge in sports. Some such unionized medium is concealed within these words as a growth bearing witness to a gestation fertilized by endless falling into a turn in the past which, lacking a teller, can never be paid out. They whistled internally and externally. The cleansing assertion of a hella beat-up acquittal, idolatrous with the material mouth of its superstition come true. Not a dying culture was dying. It was instead debating the causes of its changing, admitting genius where imperishability was sourced, and publicly, privately, religiously expressing the inefficiency of public transportations. Surely we need to boycott any service areas bearing on the manifold entitlements of disabling event. Even if one were born automatically, as in the legend, no searcher could pass unnoticed by the question of the bargain, which works on age. No one could step down with a brick and teach that brick to nurse her back to health. Our list gives 91 names. Each name in the catalog must learn to understand that it is no human. But technically it is. Or it may appear that way to any animal full of error, correct by law. I'm talking about the human research apparatus. My acceptance attitude screaming is alphabetical, is arranged in an alphabetical order, is chronological, engraves sexual experience to gain identity, is frequently lost in its boundaries, experiences loss of identity through sexual experience. He only thinks he's screaming his own relationship to possession. This will be dealt with in the following catalog. And now I'll read a few entries from said catalog. Entry 46. The source text. This could be shortened to sex, and is used very frequently, especially to denote the marking of a man's physical relation to texts or sources. The alphabet is a passage used to speed up this testimonial record. We reveal our plans for a useless society to the heart and deeds of the rubric, grouped to get some teleological baseline, not for proof of evidentiary intention, but to use immediately in the parable. We learn the idea of doing anything from some annoying joke within the culture. This parable is very often repeated in the partition of responsibilities between seer and artist. Great is the power of the seer. National animals crowded inside the shorthand of perception, tired electronics playing some beautiful teaching beyond the homilist dare. Fault times the crowd, divides Harry Potter higher than its creator, harmed in the corollary willful rules of some removed level, put playing ground. Entry number 36, Dean backwards. A cookie for the wrong judge. A cookie substituted for the wrong meal and cursed all those who translated the shake. We find it threatening. This is in agreement with a constitutional rule. To stop only when you deny the implicitness of your generation by saying there is neither judgment nor judge. To emphasize, yes, there is judgment and there is judgeship and it is encroaching, thinking in categories to a summary place. At length in a following, a stencil repeats, there is a judgment and it is accusatory, and each person shall be judged individually. It's a malfunctioning cloud, drifting for a doctrinaire machine in the important electrical lifeline-lined sky. How closely we are allied to its aspect of not getting us, to the reward bereaving in the name of suffering punishment, to a source of not watching in the question of cause. Entry number 28, speak ersatz. A known punishment is the loss of your soul. But did you know, like the national scene resists the foreign language speaker, great wealth passively corrects its crime by making pubic hair iridescently visible through cloth as a metaphor for the negation of the said? Entry number 2, chosen doctor and rewrite. No basis for assuming the slightest ground for sectioning. Similar to information. Before it does not appear in the circular drawer. You are like a son who complies with all his father's requests. You are like the great pacifist who endears himself to peace in a time of war. Spreading uses onto words like a piecemealer feeds the same stones daily at the altar of the law, you can expand your pupils to grasp seeing. The sad fact saying it deserves it in the passing attention. A certain onus in sure thought. The same passage furnishing the corrupt materials of an inner life. Informers confiscating the boom boom, increasing and decreasing the sad inner life changes. I got miles of barbed wire with the words, and a human skull endeavoring to depict a wing prohibited by the law, not to scroll while reading. As if a blot of a book may be drawn upon to express the discrepancy between the same sentence written or said. In the legend, the whole world is a ceremony limited to letting the rain come down, and this presumably purifies you. Who is comforting the old woman seeking to be an intermediary magician? Why not just have a big paycheck descending once a year? With the same words used to condition the lament, the idea kind of wears the causes into turns. Our teacher mixes the days in a reflector. Why? To crucify light in the way of the will, to persecute the lions in the second half. The second half is required to owe the victory to will, the familiar abundance of longing in the third and fourth quarters. A peroration